talking about how we should quickly introduce ourselves. So if you can say your name, where you're at, if you have a farm, then your farm name, or if you're working at a farm. Maybe pronouns if you want to, and one question which MC and I had talked about. If you could talk about one thing you're excited about this winter, and share that. So I'll go first. So I'm Yoko. I'm hosting this session, and I own and operate Ashwagandha and she, her pronouns in February. So
I love Iceland. I went to Iceland before.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I didn't realize it was so close. All right, I'm gonna name someone. Let's see. Anna Kristen.
Hi, I'm Anna Kristen. My pronouns are she, her. We just started a farm in Suffield, Connecticut. It's called Abiding Acres Farm. You might see me turn my video off. I apologize. I have little ones kind of in and out of nap time here. So, and one thing I'm excited about this winter, we're gonna maybe try to design and build a roadside stand. I'm kind of looking forward to the design piece of that, less so the building, but did I miss anything?
Cool. No, that's good.
Okay.
If you want to just name somebody.
Yes. How about, oops, all the names disappeared. Elliot.
It looks like Elliot's not. Can you hear us, Elliot? It's your turn to introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm distracted. I'm Elliot. I'm going to be working at Fort Hill Farm in New Milford next year. Him. I'm excited about, I might be going to the Bahamas for a month, so that's exciting. And I just don't want to be cold for a while. So yeah. Are we passing it volleyball style?
Yeah, let's do that.
How about Allie?
Hi, I'm Allie. I work at Creative Living Community in Coventry. I guess what I'm excited about for this winter is actually planning a farm for the first time. This is like my first time doing the whole thing. So I think that's it. I'll go for Rachel.
Hello, I'm Rachel, and I'm one of the owners and farmers of Four Root Farm in East Haddam, Connecticut. She, her pronouns, and I got season tickets to the UConn women's basketball games and to the Bushnell to see some really awesome musical theater, and I'm very excited about both of those things.
Name somebody.
I have to name someone. Okay, I'm gonna pitch it to Diane.
Rachel, take me with you. Hi everyone, I'm Diane. My pronouns are she, her. Oh, sorry, there's another Diane on the call. Hi. I manage the farm at Common Ground High School in New Haven, and I'm really excited to go to some basketball games with Rachel. And this is also my first winter with a wood burning stove. And I've already spent like the first 4 months in front of it, whether it was too hot or not. So I'm really excited for that. And I'm going to send it over to the other Diane.
Hey, it's not too often there's more than one Diane in the room, especially like under 60. So I'm Diane Dorfer. I'm Cobblestone Farm in Mansfield Center. She, her, and my daughter and I are going to visit my brother and his family in Portland, Oregon in January. So I'm really looking forward to that because they have little kids and we haven't seen much of them for quite a while. So that's something good. Who else? Jana? Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Jana. I'm at Adama Farm up in Falls Village, Connecticut, and she, her pronouns, and I'm looking forward to be on point with this fall. Always excited to choose varieties for next year.
If you want to name somebody, Jenna.
Yep, and MC.
Hi, I'm MC. I use she, her pronouns. I work for the New Connecticut Farmers Alliance and also at Massaro Farm in Woodbridge. I will be taking notes, so that's if you see me, I don't know, typing away, that's what I'm doing. Feel free to hop on the notes doc that I put in the chat and correct my spelling of any of the varieties that we're going to talk about because I thought that pink tongue long eggplant was pink tongue long eggplant for years. So yeah, I'm excited this winter for eating all of the tomatoes that I managed to stow away in my freezer for the cold months. And I will pass it to Caitlin.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Kimball. I own Sunset Farm in Naugatuck, Connecticut with my husband, Lawrence. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm very excited to spend time with my son, Spencer, who will turn a year in February. If you were on our trivia team during the get-together last year, it was named after him. So he will also be joining the meeting. So thanks. I was also listening to Spencer a second ago. So has Charlotte, have you been called on?
Hi, thanks. I'm Charlotte, and I own and operate with my family Sweet Acre Farm in Lebanon. She, her pronouns, and I'm going to go on the travel excitement train because we're going to Arizona in January for 10 days. It's the first time we've traveled with 2 kids, so wish us luck. That part's going to suck, but once we get there, we're seeing 2 sets of friends, count them 2, and they don't even know each other. We're going to introduce them. They're both awesome. And I haven't been to the desert like really meaningfully ever. I think the scenery is gonna be crazy. I love like as a farmer in New England, going places like LA, for instance. And then I'm sure Tucson will be the same. Like it's just bananas to look around, and the vegetation or not lack of vegetation is just always really a mind-blowing piece that I forget about when I'm going. I'm always thinking about people when I'm going, and then that part is like, whoa, this is awesome. So looking forward to that. Jenna, hi, go ahead.
I just got here, so I'm not sure what we're sharing right now.
Oh, Jenna, you just have to say your name, your farm, where you are, and your pronouns, and one thing you're excited about this winter.
Jenna is my name, she, her. I farm in Scotland, Connecticut on Brown Farm. In production is just about a half an acre. And what I'm excited for this winter is I'm hoping for like 5 feet of snow so that I can rest without guilt.
Oh, and if you could name a person to follow you.
Oh, okay. Who has gone already? Just
Yeah,
everybody.
I was just gonna say you don't. Let me choose someone for you.
Thank you.
Let's see who hasn't gone yet. Andrew.
Hi, I'm Andrew Harrington. My wife and I run Deep Hollow Farm in Chester. I'm excited to start next season with the farm really nicely organized and everything cleaned up, which we didn't get to do this year. And how about Ian goes next?
Hello, Ian. Are you there? Okay, let's go to, is Elise isn't here yet, right? or is she? Okay.
You can hear. I'm not sure if she can talk.
Right. Sarah Rose and Azim.
Hey, I'm on the road, so apologies I can't turn my camera on yet. I'm running a little behind, but my name is Sarah Rose, and my husband and I run Semad Gardens Initiative. It's like a beginner farmer gardener initiative, really aimed towards people in cities and in urban environments. We grow on a half acre currently in Simsbury. And something I'm excited for this winter is we actually just purchased an acre of land outside Atlanta. So I'm really excited to start to envision and build and plan for what we might do on that land next year. Yeah.
Cool. Great. Thank you. Robert, are you there? You mentioned you weren't going to be able to make it, but maybe you're here.
Robert messaged me that he is listening in, but is at work.
Okay. And Marianella?
Yes, hold on a comment. I'm in the car. I just parked. Hi, my name is Marianella. I farm in Watertown, Connecticut. It's a small family farm. And what I'm excited this winter, I'm taking it step by step, and just like Christmas for now on my kids, and getting organized for the next season.
Great. Thank you for that. Let's see, Susan.
Hi, my name's Susan Mitchell. I own and operate Cloverly Farm in Columbia. I use she, her pronouns, and I am excited to not be growing food this winter, and I'm excited. I've got a lot of projects and infrastructure happening this winter, so that's what I'll be doing. And let's see who hasn't gone. Catherine, have you gone? Catherine.
Hello, my name's Catherine. I work at Green Village Initiative, managing their urban farm reservoir community farm. It's cool. Allie's getting ready for her first season, and I got to sort of do that last year. So in looking forward to my second season of getting to plan everything out, there's a list very long of things that I hope to improve on and get deeper in on. So I'm excited to listen into this conversation and get more ideas, and excited for next year.
All right, I think, Will, are you the last one?
Yeah, you've got me and Jill. Will, I use he, him pronouns.
I'm Jill. I use she, her pronouns.
We own Hungry Reaper Farm in Morris. I'm personally excited that we're hopefully gonna negotiate a sort of lease to own situation for some land we used to be on, which is crazy and exciting. What about you?
I'm excited to maybe among all that have some time to keep painting.
And is that it? That's it, right?
I think so. Has anyone not gone? All right. I know, intros take a little while, but I saw some new faces, so I'm glad we got to know each other a little bit. So just really quick, some housekeeping stuff. We are recording, and we're going to send you the link to the recording after we're done. MC is taking notes, so if you want to click on the Google Doc that she put on the message board, you can kind of follow along as she's writing or correct her on her spellings. And so today's topics are in no particular order, but the flowers are going to be towards the end. And there were a few topics that weren't really varieties or crops. It was like general farming questions. So we'll leave that till the end too. And so you don't have to like raise your hands or anything. Just if you want to, talk, just talk. And do you guys know about the raising your hand feature of Zoom? There might be times when we're like, who got this disease this year or something? And it might be nice to see like hands and do a quick thing. So any technical like things that you're having problems with, or you don't know how to do something, you can ask MC. So let's see. Oh, and I'm mostly here, you know, I'm just here kind of to make sure that we can get all the topics in time. I know there's a lot to talk about, so I'm kind of going to be there to keep us on track in terms of time. And then finally, I know last year we had Julie from Johnny's, and she was such a valuable, you know, contribution to the discussion. And we tried to have somebody from Johnny's come again, but I don't know if some of you may know already, she left Johnny's, and the person who took over her position, she, I guess, wasn't, you know, it was, that person just wasn't ready to fill in her Julie's shoes. So we couldn't get anybody here today, but we're hoping in future editions that we'll definitely have somebody from Johnny's, a Northeast rep usually, and they usually come with a boatload of additional information, which is great. And then finally, Ian, I don't know if you're there. You can, I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself if you're still there.
I'm here.
Okay, do you want to?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm Ian, Wellstone Farm.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm like doing like 16 things, but I'm listening. I promise I'm listening.
Okay, no, it was just where you are, what farm, and one thing you're excited about for winter.
Wellstone Farm, Higginham, Connecticut. I'm excited to sleep. Really excited to sleep.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't have anything interesting going on. I feel inadequate, but it's the best I can do.
No problem. Well, so Ian and I were talking about on a Slack discussion about, you know, climate change, adaptation, resilience, those kind of things. So if you want to weave in those kind of, you know, context or whatever into the discussion, I think that would be valuable too.
I mean,
So,
anyone who's seen oddball diseases or anything funny, for example, I got Stemphylium this year, which is gray leaf mold, which is a mid-Atlantic pathogen on my greenhouse tomatoes. And it was kind of contained, but I've read it can be catastrophic in certain situations. So stuff like that, stuff you might have seen that is just weird. Some of the pests that are coming up are weird meaning not really endemic. So if anyone's seen anything, just jump right in, and maybe we can start to identify some of these new visitors. Because I'm starting to look at a lot of southern cultivars to use up here in anticipation of having to deal with stuff that they already have to deal with. So that's about it.
all right. Okay, well, I'm going to share my screen so I can share the slides with you. Oh no, let's share. Okay. All right, so we're going to start with lettuce, and let me just get my timer. Okay. 3:22. All right, so we'll start with overwintered lettuce that aren't Salanovas. Is it worth the cost? Salanovas can be a little pricey. Does anybody grow lettuces during the winter that aren't Salanovas and are growing well?
For the past 2 years, I've grown outrageous. It's like embarrassing to say that. And thanks, Rachel. And Pensacola. And they've been doing fairly well, but they don't as like cuts. And I don't know if I'm expecting too much from them, but comes like early spring last year, they just pooped out. And I also grew Panisse with them, which I know is kind of a Salanova, but affordable. I don't know. And so I'm thinking about purchasing Salanovas for overwintering, but they're so expensive. So I was just curious if folks, you know, have done like more intensive winter growing with Salanovas, and if it does feel like it's worth the cost and sort of what your market is for that.
Allison Angelini is really good at growing Salanova in the winter. I've seen her stuff.
Who is?
Allison Angelini.
For her farm?
Yeah.
She's good at everything. It's like, cool. Thank you.
I mean, so that kind of it's a good segue into one cut lettuce, because is that something that could replace Salanovas to an extent? I'm really interested in the one cuts, and I don't have a lot of experience with it. So
I've grown
if
easy
anyone-
leaf for years, like Hampton and Rilla. They just showed up in Johnny's and in High Mowing recently, but I used to get them on the West Coast. It's kind of where West Coast and Harris had them first.
What are the varieties that you just mentioned?
Let me go through. They keep changing the names, and they're all pretty arcane. There's Hampton. There is as Hampton's like an oak leaf. As Rilla is more like a tango. Brentwood is like a reddish, like a red leaf kind of. There's no butters. You know how I know that there's those butter leaf Salanovas that are really pretty. There's not an analog for that. Bellevue, Belvedere. There's another one named after a school. It's another school. I can't remember.
I do love the Salanova butters.
I've had mixed results with them. I find that the Hampton I know some people grow those and they're just champions for them. I've had some grow really well. I'm not a real good test case. My lettuce is really inconsistent. Unless it's Muir, which is like a Clydesdale of a lettuce. Some years are good, some years are bad. But I've grown those, and I've had good years and bad years, but I know a lot of people that grow them consistently and really like them, and they're way, way cheaper than Salanova.
One specific question. Have you ever grown Frisgo?
Come again?
Frisgo. I'm wondering if that's kind of like Summer Crisp, or is it softer? Because Summer
What
Crisp
catalog?
is... Oh, Johnny's.
Hold on.
It's a one cut from Johnny's.
Hold on. That might be a new one.
It's not new this year, but yeah.
Not new this year. Let me look.
Can you spell it one more time, please?
Frisgo.
Lettuce.
Because the intercut is already sold out.
I've never seen intercut before. I'm always
That's the
suspicious
new one.
if I see those new ones and they're really not new, they're just rebranded. Because I know that Easy Leaf undercut Salanova by a touch because it's so much more inexpensive. And this disease package is really similar.
Anyone else with experience with one cuts?
I grew the Salanova butter and oak leaf, both the red and the green this year. And they are really beautiful and they taste good. And customers love them, but they did really poorly in the warmer months. They did well in the spring and like the very last couple of plantings, maybe in the fall, but they're pretty inconsistent. The butterheads especially did poorly. The green oak leaf was probably the best in the heat, but we're not going to grow any of them actually at all this year, just because I don't feel like having to think about plantings and like varieties changing through the year. I just want things that can grow from the beginning of the season to the end, which I know is kind of like a little lazy, but I'm trying a bunch of different varieties and seeing if there's any that can perform in all seasons.
Salanova definitely gets finicky in the middle of in the heat of the summer. This also wasn't a wonderful summer to gauge your your overall opinion on, because those heat waves were brutal. And they always came at the worst time, seemingly. I've never grown Frisgo, by the way. I've never seen this one before.
Okay.
We did Hampton and Brentwood as well, and I prefer those to a lot of the Salanovas. I did a little bit the year before, but this year that was mostly what we did, and I just found that they got fuller and they did better in the heat. And just all the wet, they held up better. And we have some going right now. I mean, it's been pretty mild, the weather so far, in one of our hoop houses, but I really, really like the texture and the way the plants held up a little bit better. They don't seem as fragile as the Salanovas. So I just wanted to co-sign the Hampton and the Brentwood.
We really like Buckley, actually, which is the oak leaf from High Mowing. Also totally agree. We cut out the butters for the middle section of the season. Also, it says it's going to be available again in June, so it's probably not helpful at all, but the red Batavia that was new from Johnny's last year we grew, and it was
Oh, I love that one.
and way better than any of the other ones.
I was so disappointed when that was like
where did it
already
go?
gone.
That's
Yeah,
Can you guys-
that one's my favorite.
Can you talk about why you liked that? I was interested in trying that too. And did you grow the green one?
We did grow the green one. It was also fine, but not as good. I think what made it so great was that it was slow to bolt and also like made really nice, like big but compact heads. So they were like easier to cut than someone like some of the green curlies get super crazy. I don't know, Yoko, is that your experience also?
Yeah, it definitely had, I think, the most yield, or one of the highest yields. It was just so, I don't know, there was so much weight to it when you harvested it. Just really dense and delicious and really reliable. Like they were all very uniform and just every planting they would do.
Yeah, it seemed agreed. It like seemed very consistent, the most consistent variety throughout the whole season.
What was the variety? I spaced.
The red Batavia.
Red Batavia. By the way, if you guys, for the easy leaf, Harris seed is, in case you run out, is $10 for 1,000 seeds. And I don't know if that's pelleted or not. I think they have both. So Harris used to be like just a kind of a grindhouse, kind of conventional seed house, but now they are really expanding their organic selection. And the prices are pretty reasonable. I think it's out of Western New York. I don't really know, but they have everything. Mostly everything.
Yeah, you love Harris seeds.
They bailed me out a couple times when things couldn't be found and they had them.
Right.
But it's an old school house, so you got to be careful because they'll sneak treated seed in. Not sneak it, but they'll say it, but they won't. You just got to make sure you read everything. Read all the fine print.
Right. Okay, let's move on to field black seeded Simpsons. Has anyone grown black seeded Simpsons?
Yeah, so I grew that this year, and I just put that on there because I was surprised at how fast it bolted for me, because I had heard that it was somewhat bolt resistant, and I think it was ready in like late June, early July, and it just like bolted faster than everything else I had growing. I had some new red fire, I had some green romaines, and
it's an heirloom, so it's definitely not bolt resistant at all. So if you're looking for it's like you can only plant that like for one succession in the early spring because it's definitely gonna bolt. Anyone else had success with black seeded Simpsons?
Heirloom lettuce are so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I try to only grow heirlooms because I'm really passionate about seed saving. So I'm trying to find a lettuce that will work.
I think you can, what's the wild garden seed? I think has some really interesting open pollinated varieties that aren't necessarily heirlooms, but might be a little bit better performing throughout the summertime. So I haven't grown any myself, but yeah, a number of farmers that
Winter garden, you said?
Wild garden seed. Someone just
wild
put it in the
garden
chat
seed.
too, Frank Morton.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of years ago when I placed an order with him, I just put in like however many extra dollars and said, could you please send me some of your lettuce varieties that will do well like in these conditions in the summer, just to see. And it was fun to see what he sent. None of them were as reliable as a hybrid, or well, anyway, but anyway, it was still fun and worthwhile. Like it did give me more options. So
were there any like standouts that they sent?
I cannot remember. I remember, yeah, I would have to look that up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, what about new midsummer head lettuce, green head lettuce?
Yeah, that was me. I really like Starfighter, but
Mirror.
okay.
Mirrors.
Oh, it's different though. You can't replace. I feel like you can't replace those green leaves with Muir because it's just so compact and not, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess you're right. Muir still, when Muir gets big and stays sweet in the summer, it's just,
Mhm.
and they're pretty impressive.
Yeah, I use that for mix for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking for like head lettuce, just like cut the whole head.
Yeah.
I do
So
Muir as a head. They get up to about a pound.
Okay.
They get big and they are very dense.
What
I
was
was
the variety that you, sorry, Dan.
okay.
Just for the notes, what was the variety that you mentioned, Dan Dorfer? Starfighter?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just at the New England Veg and Farmer Conference this morning, and they actually presented on their new heat tolerant lettuce varieties that did their most successful.
Is it Grazion?
It was put on by Dr. Ernest, and Starfighter was one of the varieties, but the other green ones that they had for Butterhead was Dove, and then Arroyo, Arroyo, and Forlina, Forlina. And this was down in Delaware, and they said that they had a really hot season and that these performed the best. She didn't say how great their performance was, but it was based on bolt and bitterness. And those were the varieties that did the best. So this is like hot takes from this morning, you guys.
In 2020, we had a really nice summer planting of Panisse, which was mentioned earlier. It didn't quite perform as well for us this past summer. I don't know if that's like, what Ian was talking about with the intensity of the summer's heat waves, but 2020 was so dry and they performed well nonetheless. So I think it's worth maybe giving it a shot.
Diane, did you mention Starfighter because it was bolting during the summer and you wanted?
No, she said it did great for her trials.
Oh, okay. All
yeah.
right.
Yeah, for me, I've found that we're gonna keep having this problem.
Oh no, sorry. Yeah, I meant Diane Dorfer. Like at the Starfighter. Is there an issue with that one? You find?
I don't like that it's like the one green leaf I grow in the summer. It's nice to have another option, even just with seed availability issues. But it just like it didn't head up the way that it normally does this year. Like normally they're huge and fantastic and they were fine, but it's hard to, there weren't like disease issues, there no tip burn. They did bolt faster than normal, but it was just that kind of year. I don't know. So not one specific thing.
Right. I do grow a Starfighter too throughout the summer and they did pretty good this year.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping that they would do well in the winter too, with a late fall. But they're not very good in the cold, I found. All right, we have to wrap up with the lettuce, but does anyone have favorite red leaves?
I've grown red sails a bunch. It's great in the early fall.
Anyone else with red leaves? Or any parting thoughts about lettuce?
I think it's called Cherokee from Johnny's. We did that a little. This year I find they didn't get as big. They were, I don't know, they weren't as full as they were the year before, but I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Am I making that up? Or
yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, that's what we did this year. We mainly did Starfighter in that and Muir.
All right. Okay, let's move on to the next topic. If I can. All right, brassicas. We've got 15 minutes for that. Let's start with red cabbage. I think somebody was saying that they were having trouble getting red cabbages to head up. Am I right? Whoever wrote this? But yeah, if anyone has good experiences with a particular variety.
I don't actually grow cabbage, but I remember Julie saying last year that like it was really hard to grow really nice red cabbages.
But Julie from Johnny's was saying that?
Yeah, that's my memory anyway.
I don't remember that.
I remember that same thing, Rachel. Any crop that's purple or red in color takes a longer time to grow.
Oh
than
yeah,
its
that I remember
counterpart
that.
in that's green. Yeah, and my red cabbages always are smaller than the green, like guaranteed, no matter what. I know that Johnny's, one of them has a new red cabbage this year. I've grown Integro. They're still small.
Have you grown Omero?
I've grown Omero, still small.
That doesn't get big either.
No.
No matter what I do to it, I beg it, I plead, and then with like baseballs, softballs.
So no one's like really good at growing red cabbages here?
Yeah.
Okay, what about just regular green cabbages? I know last year we talked about Tiara being a good one.
I grow Katrina, and it's
what is it, Karina?
Katrina. It's
Katrina.
like it's basically it's like the Usain Bolt of cabbages. I seed it into plug trays in mid-April, and I'm harvesting it. I harvested the first heads, and they're only about 2 pounds, but I harvested the first heads before July. I mean, it's pretty fast. I've been growing that for 4 years. It's a West Coast species. There's a variety species. It's a West Coast variety.
Where do you get the seeds?
I think it's everywhere now. I think you can get them. I think Territorial has them. Is it Katarina? It's Katarina.
Okay.
Set up. I'll put it in. Oops.
Anybody else? Green cabbages? Any unusual ones like you like to grow, like pointy ones or flat ones? All right, well, I know a lot of people are interested in broccoli, so let's move on to that. I saw that Happy Rich is back. So yeah, let's talk about, let's start off with, I guess, regular broccoli. Anyone have favorites?
Broccoli is one of those weird crops. Everybody needs to find their particular broccoli, because I feel like every farm wants a different one.
Mm-hmm.
I've
We had a
grown
really
about
nice-
a dozen.
We had a really nice spring planting of Monty from Johnny's. The best spring broccoli I've ever grown. And then all of our fall broccoli rotted on the plants. So,
oh my God, that's so sad.
How big did Monty get? How big were the crowns?
Probably the biggest were like 1/2 pound, 3/4 pound. They weren't huge, but they did produce a lot of side shoots.
Did you side dress them after you took the first cut?
We did not.
Wow, and they still nice.
We're in a new field. Everything was a mess. So our plans
Sometimes
got
you get that new field glow, though.
Yeah.
Before anything finds you.
Exactly.
I grew one planting of broccoli. It was Emerald Crown. It was in the summer, and it did really well. So I'd try that for a heat tolerant variety.
I've heard people have really good success with that. I think we did
Can you
millennium and
one more
Corbin.
time?
It was Emerald Crown.
For this spring, I did Green Magic and Imperial. I guess I planned like 3 rounds. And Green Magic is like sooner, smaller, side shoots, and Imperial took a little bit longer, bigger heads. So it worked out well because I had a nice supply of broccoli for, I don't know. I just have my planting notes in front of me, not harvest notes, but
You liked Imperial?
I did, yeah.
I grew it too, but again, like everyone got smashed this fall with black rot and alternaria and everything. So I didn't feel I got a really good read on it, but I had a feeling it looked good before it got destroyed. So I figured it was a good plant.
Yeah, I like them, and I can, yeah, I mean, the bigger brassicas like this, it's like, how much room do you really need to give them? You know, that is something that could play around with a lot, but
I find 2 beds at, 2 rows per bed at 15-inch spacing offset. I've gotten massive crowns at that spacing.
yeah, I vary in between a foot and 10 inches with 2 rows per bed. And like, yeah, they just get a little bit bigger if they give them a little more space, but it's totally functional at the tighter spacing.
I'd rather do them at a tighter spacing, to be perfectly honest. If you
Well,
get
right.
results on that, I would.
Yeah. Yeah, so a foot seemed okay for us.
Millennium was a good one, but it's only a 1 cut. This year, 2 years ago, I grew it. I had a woodchuck go in and just lay waste to stuff, and I left plants in, and the plants grew through being savaged by a woodchuck the size of a Buick and actually put out huge heads. So Millennium, but it's a 1 and done. There's 0 side shooting, but they were huge crowns.
All right, speaking of side shooting, let's talk about branching, is that what you call them? Branching broccoli, broccolinis, or any variations of that?
I've grown to love BC 1611 in the absence of Happy Rich.
Yeah, I agree. They were insane for me this past season. They're not as sweet, as flavorful, and I feel like it does it gets thinner and thinner, so it takes longer and longer to harvest. Happy Rich is the same, but maybe not, doesn't get as thin as BC 1611. But yeah, amazing. I'm planning to do like half Happy Rich, going back to that maybe next year, and half BC.
Do you mind if I ask, do you guys transplant those, what the spacing is, and do you feel like it's like pretty profitable compared to other
It's
crops?
insane. Yeah, it's very profitable. I mean, we were harvesting it for, I think, 14 or 15 weeks, one of the plantings this year. And I don't know the yield off the top of my head, but yeah, it's
How many plantings?
3 plantings in total throughout the season.
I think we did those at a, two rows per bed at a foot, to answer your question, Andrew. And same with Yoko, that the first planting in particular harvested for like 12 to 14 weeks. With the peak, I'm just trying to think, like on a 100-foot bed, I think we were taking like 75 bunches a week during the peak of that first planting.
When do you transplant those in?
As early as we could. Let me see.
I space it out like throughout the season, so.
Like you seed them maybe in the second set 5 weeks after the first and 5 weeks after that, would you say?
Yeah, it's just I can't look at my notes because I'm sharing my screen. I guess, I mean, I'm kind of embarrassed to like.
You don't have to look. Just send. I'll book you later.
Yeah, it's a little more spaced out than that, more than 5 weeks. I can send you like specific dates later, Ian.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, no need. Don't dig around. You got to do it.
Yeah. Anybody else with experiences? Will, you grow those purple ones too, right?
We did in 2020. We didn't this past year. It just, they never like held up, I feel like, quite as well.
Oh, okay.
Just didn't produce as bountifully. But, and when you cook them, they turn green anyway, so.
Yeah. All right, someone wrote pest management. What kind of pests were people finding on the broccoli and what helped?
I think the disease killed everything before the bugs had a real chance to get after it.
Did you end up getting black rot on your broccoli?
Black rot and probably it was a cornucopia of wonderful. It was bad. It was bad. One variety didn't get it. I want to say it was Arcadia. I'd have to look. Let me look real quick.
Okay. I was starting to get aphids towards the, late fall. So that's kind of
Brutal aphid year.
What's that?
I thought it was a brutal aphid year.
Oh, really?
Me personally, yeah, but that's an ongoing war.
Oh, you know what? Oh, yeah, I want to ask people who had really bad flea beetles. Can I open this?
That weather
if people want to do the little hand sign, so no one had bad flea beetles this year.
All right, where is the little hand thing?
So far, I think we have 2 raised hands.
Yeah, there's 2. Okay, 2 people.
3.
3.
4.
I'd raise my hand, but I don't know how to on my phone, so my hand is raised.
Okay. Thanks, Kristen. Yeah, it kind of caught us by surprise this year, since we didn't really have any last year. And yeah, it kind of took out a couple of our Asian greens plantings, so just came out of nowhere, and then it kind of left suddenly, and then it came back. So
there's an upper edge of their heat tolerance, and I think those like 104 degree days, 103 degree days. I mean, I think that might have messed with them a touch, but that dry heat, they just love that.
I would say we had like medium flea beetle. We've had worse. But I think it's also just a symptom of being like, the longer you are on your land, the more they know you're there. And I think we're gonna skip spring brassica this fall, or this spring. This spring, like the earliest arugula planting. We do a lot of arugula, and I think that was what got hammered, and it got hammered. So like, yeah, we don't do a ton of brassicas anymore, but the arugula in the summer, like we just had flea beetles longer and longer. Jonathan kept being like, we don't need to cover that, they're gone. And then they were gone, and I'd be so mad. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's how we're going to deal with it. I remember Arrow. Do you guys remember Arrow Rotilla way back when he did programming with UConn? He talked about in his farming experience that just like giving that break for one of the either spring or fall seasons, usually spring, will just give you like a real solid fall brassica experience. So they're just, if you don't feed them in the spring, I don't know, we're going to try it.
I second that. I gave up on spring brassicas because the flea beetle pressure was so bad. And then this fall, I had like the best looking stuff with no flea beetle damage. And I was just super surprised. And I was like, okay, never doing spring brassicas again.
I heard that from somebody else too. That same strategy. Yeah.
Plus spring is just so friggin' unpredictable now. You just never know what you're going to get, and now September is a summer month.
Yeah, we also have had trouble with arugula, spring arugula, with just like phosphorus uptake and, just being purple basically. And that like it's warm enough to seed and you got all excited with your spring fever, and then they just, so we've had like the double, and then the flea beetles get them because they're weak too. So yeah, we're pretty down on spring arugula right now.
And covering them, if you cover them with Protect Net or whatever, then you're running the aphid risk. And once aphids get on arugula, that's just rip it all out.
Okay, time's up for brassica. I put kale down, so I'm okay to skip it, unless somebody really wanted to talk about kale. Okay. Solanaceae. Let's see. A lot of people wrote greenhouse tunnel tomatoes, so yeah, let's talk about that first. Anyone have favorite?
I would just say that this year I tried buying cheaper hybrids for my unheated hoop house, and I definitely think it's worth spending the money on expensive greenhouse varieties, and that's what we're going to do this year, even though the seed cost is insane.
What were you seeing?
I just think that the performance is going to be a lot better. The yield is going to be a lot better. Yeah, I just don't. I don't think I keep learning this lesson that seed cost is always a good investment, but I think especially with greenhouse tomatoes.
Mm-hmm.
I can co-sign that. We did big Dinas and brandy wines. And we've done brandy wines for a couple years, and I mean they were so big and just kept going. I mean, they were going into October. And the big Dinas, the seed is pretty expensive. But they consistently do the best for us too.
How did you like the flavor on Big Dina? I grew it too. I thought it was okay.
Yeah, the flavor was okay.
Better than like Rebelski or some of those like packing tomatoes that you can buy, or Geronimo. I thought it was better than that.
Yes, not the best flavor, but the plants did well. I mean, I think everyone probably had the same, our field tomatoes were here today and gone tomorrow. Just with all the rain, they really struggled. So yeah, our greenhouse ones really did well. So I'm curious to see what else worked, because I feel like that's just the direction, more greenhouse tomatoes, just with how unpredictable the weather is.
And there's a lot of new leaf molders. I have a really bad leaf mold, like seriously bad leaf mold problems. And there's so many new leaf mold resistant varieties. That must have been a problem a lot of people had, because all the catalogs have been flooded with them the past 2 years. And they're pretty tasty. Some of the Heirlooms are pretty good.
I'm curious who.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Are you speaking? No, go ahead.
I don't know if it's with those varieties or if it was just us, but we had like no hornworms this year either. I don't know if anyone else experienced that, but the year before we just got crushed, and this year with those two and in our cherries, we saw like no hornworms at all.
I heard it was a down year for them. At least I did see a ton.
Yeah, we also had that experience too. Last year was horrible. This year we ended up the season without any worms, and it's curious to see the comment about the big Dina, because I planted inside the greenhouse. I planted reduces. And big Dinas, I know it's not normal, because like, it's advised that you do like in the 30 minutes. And I still got a chance and I had some big Dinas. In by the ton, in a very short period, smaller production. I did have purple brandy wines. Cherokee purples, they always do good, thank God. Brandy wines did fine, and the field tomatoes were, I guess, I don't know if it happened to everybody, that we were like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and nothing was ripening because of the weather. We just had like a bunch of fields of like green tomatoes, which it seemed like forever. Then they cut up, but it was like a hard season for the field tomatoes. I think this year I'm gonna be planting more big Dinas. Yeah.
Can I just see a show of hands who grows tomatoes on grafted rootstock?
I do grafted.
Okay, just to. So Ian, when you were talking, is yours grafted or?
Mine are not. I don't graft unless I'm begging some from Kristen and Chris. I don't use grafted tomatoes. I'm awful at it, and that's one expense I can't justify. And I rotate my tunnels enough where I just play with fire, basically. But I have had. What's that?
It was just context for what people are saying. So.
Yeah, I use a lot of the Heirlooms, the new Heirlooms that have come in. I also grow, because I do have a really big business for cherry tomatoes. I grow a ton of cherry tomatoes inside, and there's so many new resistant varieties out there. I finally found a good golden leaf mold resistant variety. So it's not new, it's just not always around. So because sun gold and sun sugar is they're like Charlie Brown Christmas trees. If you have a bad leaf mold year, they're just stripped by the 1st of September of their leaves. So that's kind of what guides all of my decision making on my tomatoes.
All right, what about heirloom tomatoes?
This isn't a real heirloom, but last year Julie recommended the Gin Fizz, which is the only organic one of the sort of like fake heirlooms from Johnny's, and we grew it this year, and it did pretty well for us. It was great.
Was it short, kind of stumpy, or did it grow to normal size?
No, they grew to normal size.
Man, I got some that were they produced, but they didn't get higher than maybe 5 or 6 feet tall. It's weird. And other people I talked to had the same problem, and then other people, they grew fine. It must have been a mixed bag.
Huh.
I have a question for you guys. I've only had my high tunnel for 2 seasons. So I don't have a ton of experience. I've found that outside the best red F1 tomato is Jetstar.
It's a low acid. It's a low acid tomato, just so you know.
Yeah.
Tasty as all get out though.
Yeah, it works for us. And so I tried growing it in the high tunnel. I always thought of it as determinate, but then in the high tunnel, it just kept going.
It's a semi-determinate.
So maybe it was just the difference in conditions between outside and inside.
Yeah, determinate tomatoes, I was told by Jude, will grow if you put them in a tunnel. They'll keep growing even if they're listed as specifically bush.
Okay.
Like BHN 589, I've gotten that 6.5 feet tall in a tunnel.
Right.
And people have grown bigger than that, and that's just considered a semi-determinate determinate.
Yeah, thanks.
And is that worth doing with BHN? Because we don't. We do it as determinant. And
BHN's actually, to the best of my knowledge, supposed to be, it's like a tunnel tomato, even though people grow it outside.
Yeah, we grow it in our tunnel, and we don't, and like it's so productive as a bush variety, and I can't see putting the effort into trellising it. Actually, we love it because we use it on the sides of our high tunnel where it's shorter. So we don't have the space for the string.
We did that too, Charlotte, but
That's what I do. I do it on the sides.
I had to like top it this year because it was like too tall and it was like falling over and then making it like nearly impossible to pick the tomatoes.
Charlotte, what I do is in between the plants on the outermost beds on that side truss is in between the plants, I'll drop 2 strands down and I'll do like a almost like a W zigzag, and I'll keep 2 liters on each plant, and I'll just get them up to about 4 feet, and then I let nature take its course. Instead of staking them or trying to do like a straight, you shouldn't prune them down to 1 liter. You should try to keep them bushy. But I mean, they make those things you can hang off trellises now for weaving. I don't know if you've seen those before.
Yeah. Yeah, those are awesome for us. And what's the other? Oh, Big Beef. We do a row of those in the greenhouse too, and they were pretty killer. And we've had leaf mold issues too. We started using oxidate this year. Much earlier. We used it like kind of like Hail Mary last year. No, we used it this year from the beginning, but I think we would have done it earlier. We will do it earlier next
They
year.
start oxidating 2 weeks after transplant, which sounds crazy, but I was told.
Right, but that's like a preventative thing, not just a treatment thing. Like we were already treating leaf mold.
It's already in there. It's hard to get out.
And we'll also fog the tunnels before we ever plant this year, which was recommended by Matt DeBacco. There you fog them like empty with oxidate and then continue with the applications.
Yeah, Matt
And we
told
saw a big difference because the year before we had noticed what was happening and just never got around to it soon enough. And they just burned right down to the ground. We ripped our tomatoes out in like August 20th last year, which was insane. And we had really great fall and winter greens as a result because we planted them on time. But this year it was better, but you could just see that like.
Charlotte, did you see that new series that came out, Ruby, the Ruby series of tomatoes? It's a leaf mold resistant red slicers. There's 4 different types.
I did not know.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at seed catalogs yet, you guys.
That's a good idea. Well, there's those. I'm gonna try one of those.
Okay, someone specifically asked about black Creme field tomatoes.
Yeah, this was more, it wasn't a question, it was just, I was so impressed with the black Creme field tomatoes. So they're an heirloom variety and they produced extremely well. They were like some of our first to produce and then made it through. They had a dip in like mid-September and then came back for another 3 to 4 weeks all the way through, yeah, pretty near the end of October. And I was just like really blown away by the productivity and the taste. The taste is like legendary. They taste amazing. It just, yeah, grew really well for me.
Awesome.
Yeah, those are delicious. Did you spray them at all?
No. I mean, we foliar sprayed with some like fermented fish emulsions and what else? Fermented plant juice, but only like 3-4 applications over the season. But they just, I don't know, they just loved it. They were good.
Is that the first time you'd grown tomatoes in that spot?
Yes, it was. But it's yeah, I mean, it's our first time on the land, and it wasn't great quality soil to begin with. So, but yeah, no, but it worked.
Are as an heirloom, from my understanding, are one that can produce and compromise soil a little bit. So it was a good pick. They're great.
Robert said in the chat that he can't get heirloom black tomatoes to not crack. And I will say that we harvested our tomatoes at like 20% ripe this year. And honestly, it was amazing. It was like I noticed a small difference in taste, but it was worth it because we wasted way less tomatoes. Like there was way less rotting in the cooler throughout the season.
So you mean just this first sign of color?
Yeah.
On the turn, you pick them on the turn and they hold better.
We did that too. It was a big difference.
Do you then let them ripen? When do you bring them to market? When you let them ripen and then bring them to market, or do you bring them to market that way?
We let them ripen and then we bring them to market. We maybe in the early end of the season gave our CSA members some like half ripened ones, and at the handoff we would just be like, leave these on your kitchen counter for a week and they'll be fine.
Rachel, we brought a lot of just at the turn, pretty unripe ones, and they actually did really well at some of our markets. We were surprised. Towards the end, we thought, okay, let's just bring these and see what happens. And people were just buying them like in droves. So we also picked them, pretty when they're just barely there. And it was a game changer too, way less waste. And yeah, surprised that people bought them like that. It's people, if people will come and buy a ton and just say, yeah, I'm just going to let them sit. But we were wondering how people store them when they pick them like that, like what temperature or where.
They like it like 65-ish degrees. I mean, if you keep them in a real hot barn, they're just going to ripen way faster.
Yeah.
And if you keep them in an enclosed space in a hot barn, they're going to ripen because you trap the ethylene they're giving off. So I put them in the barn, in the cooler spot of the barn, and run fans over them. It tends to slow it down, but I mean, it's an inexact science. They ripen too fast, you just get more tomato sandwiches.
Okay, just because we're running out of time for this topic, let's move on to tomato rootstock varieties. Kirsten had this question. I'm not sure if you're here, Kirsten, but I know you're working. So varieties other than DRO141, Estamino, Maxipor, and Xinjiang. Estamino, I don't know how to say that. Yeah, specifically for Phytophthora, ground rot, Fusarium, burnt resistance, and also for fruiting capabilities for heirloom plants. I'm not familiar with this, so anyone want to jump in?
We do a lot of grafting, but I only use those rootstocks that you mentioned, so.
Kirsten, you might be out of luck. Okay, let's move on to shishitos. So I can't remember who said this, but somebody heard that a few growers ripen, their shishitos ripen quickly to red and turning bitter at a very small size. Oh yeah, Enya said this. Who had this experience this year?
Never heard that before. Wow.
Yeah, I've never really seen this happen. So no one had it in this room?
Yes, we did. Sorry, I was trying to type it to not chime in, but a lot of small red ones. It was super bizarre.
Towards the end, we had a lot of small ones that got ripe quickly, but I don't know, we had a ridiculous amount of shishitos.
I had some bittering on some of the Corno de Toros early, the green ones, but I don't think they taste super sweet. Well, none of the green tomatoes really are sweet, but I think they can taste a little off before they turn. So I don't think that's really odd. But I didn't see anything with shishitos.
Right. Will, you work with Enya, so do you know which variety of shishitos happened?
No, I'm not sure. I mean,
I don't know what she was growing.
we grew I think just the high mowing shishito this year and had done the mellow star before, and I liked the high mowing one better. But I have not heard anything about what Enya heard.
Okay. Okay. Let's move on to eggplants. Has anyone successfully grafted eggplant onto rootstock for verticillium resistance? It's pretty
I've
specific.
asked so many breeders about this, and for some strange reason, nobody's doing it.
Well, eggplant growers in Japan, they all graft their eggplants. So she should just go there.
You and I've talked about that, and I don't understand why they don't do it here. Because verticillium is everywhere.
Okay, well, that is, what was the last one? Sorry, I can't seem to go back. So, okay. So no one on eggplants, right?
Has anybody else heard about the grafted tomato with eggplant root on soils that are diseased already because of previous soil-borne diseases of tomatoes?
Mm-mm.
I saw a study about that. Okay, just food for thought.
Okay, and then finally, potatoes. This was mine. So if everyone can just shout out their favorite potato varieties.
What kind of potatoes do you grow, Yoko?
I usually grow like a pink one, like rose gold, or I grew something else this year.
Baltic
and
red.
A yellow one like Corolla, and a purple one like, I tried a purple one this year and it grew really well. What was it? Shoot, I can't look at my computer, so I don't know. But it was from the main potato lady. I can't remember what it's called.
We really liked Satina, which is like
Oh yeah, I grew that too. Yeah.
Yukon Gold type that performed pretty well for us.
Satina's great.
Yeah, Satina was good.
We had a really interesting experience with our potatoes this year where we put down black plastic and then we planted the potato into it and then we put leaf mulch on top of that in a really, really thick layer, which I think is similar to what we have done in the past, but all of the potatoes grew into the leaf mulch this year. And so harvest was like easy as pie. Like you just brush off all the leaf and then there's all those potatoes just waiting for you. So it was really nice and the yield was really high. I don't know if others have like had similar experiences.
Yeah, we kind of do something like that where we put on a bunch of hay we come, once it grows to a certain height, we come in and put more hay on it. And so, yeah, you don't have to dig much to harvest.
We did that once and we had so much rot. I don't know. Do you have rot with that? Either the leaf mulch or the hay?
No. Yeah, I didn't see that. Any other favorite potato varieties before we move on?
This year I ended up with Envol, Envol, that I'd never grown before, but there was all these early potato availability issues and I couldn't get like the normal whites or yellows. And it was super. It was great. And like I had one row that was part that and part something else that I kind of forgot about. And so I dug those like a lot later and they were also gorgeous and huge. So that was a nice surprise.
Cool, thanks for sharing. All right, cucurbits. Cucumbers, tasty ones with good disease resistance that aren't too expensive. Oh, sorry, this was 2 topics, but let's talk about cucumbers first.
Field or tunnel?
Let's start with field.
I know Bristol was pretty good. It's got DM resistance.
I've got like terrible cucumber beetle pressure, so I don't have like a normal cucumber year to say anything.
You guys almost have to keep yours covered until like, why don't you guys try growing parthenocarpic varieties?
That's my plan next year. I'm gonna keep it covered the whole time.
Sorry, can you repeat what was just said, please?
Yeah, so Ian just suggested that I grow parthenocarpic varieties which don't need pollinators, so you can keep it covered all throughout the planting.
Probably
And
Corinto. It's probably one of the more inexpensive ones, and it's like a fields greenhouse kind of combo.
yeah, a lot of the greenhouse ones are parthenocarpic
And
already.
extremely expensive. I mean, cork. It's like makes your eyes water how expensive some of those cucumber seeds are. Citadel is another good field one. That's a pickler. I'm pretty sure that's a pickler. With DM resistance. Little Leaf is another good one. I've grown Little Leaf forever. It's more of a earlier season one. Pickler.
Anybody else?
I would second the Little Leaf. It was great for us this year.
Harvesting is so much easier too.
Yeah, I third the Little Leaf. Really good one.
What about field cucumber? I mean, house tunnel cucumbers.
Oh wait, I have one more field cucumber, which is the salt and pepper cucumber. It was so yummy. I think that's what it was called. It's like
I can offer you another one you might like. Silver Slicer from High Mowing is like salt and pepper, except it holds way better on the ground. And I think it's sweeter. It doesn't turn yellow. It's Silver Slicer is one of the best cucumbers I've ever had. But it's little disease. Those silvers are usually very susceptible to downy mildew.
So tunnel cucumbers.
Unagi was really good for like a long.
Yeah.
I just bought those, yeah.
Expedition too. Not Expedition. No, Excelsior. Sorry.
UNAGI. Any others?
Excelsior is a pickler that crazy disease resistance for even like for tunnel tomato and tasted great. Excelsior, like Stanley Excelsior. Itachi was good too. It's a long white.
How do you even keep track of all these different varieties, Ian?
I don't get to pick. I remember this, you know, sports statistics and Dungeons and Dragons rules from when I was 10. That's the only thing my brain allows me to remember.
Anybody else on tunnel cucumbers?
There was I know Kirsten grew one. Was it Kirsten grew one that was great for her? Was it Manny? Lagos? Lagos. It was Lagos. She really liked that. And Manny and Lagos are very affordable. They're both pretty solid if you don't want to spend $1 million on those. Those are super expensive ones. I know that Quark is another one. I think Rachel, don't you grow Quark? Don't you love that?
Yeah, we do grow the quirks. We like them. They're very cute and they taste good and they grow. They grew better last year. We also had a cucumber beetle problem this year, but yeah, they generally grow really well for us.
Yeah, I was going to ask if people feel like it's worth growing cucumbers in a high tunnel if you don't have like exclusion, well, without exclusion netting for cucumber beetles. Yeah.
You'd have to basically really be really well acquainted with spraying them with Surround on a regular basis. And then because you're inside, you have to, there's the whole added, now you really have to wash the fruit because you don't want to soak fruit with clay dust on it.
Right.
That's the only thing I could think of because yeah, that would be tricky. Or just plant tons of them and just plan on cycling them out every 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm. That's what I do outside, but yeah. Thanks.
Okay, winter squash. One person asked, favorite varieties of winter squash that don't need a cure?
Black footsuit doesn't need a cure. Oh no, it does. I'm sorry. I think that.
Delicata is
Delicata?
Delicata variety does not need to cure. Oh, I don't know.
Sunshine from Johnny's. The kombuchas don't need to cure to the best of my knowledge. I know Sunshine.
They do. They do need a cure.
They market Sunshine as being able to eat it right off the vine. I always thought that was suspicious.
Yeah, I wouldn't eat it right off the vine.
I wouldn't either. I don't even think that Delicata tastes great right off the vine.
But it doesn't need to cure. We don't cure it in the greenhouse. So I mean, I'm assuming that question is because they don't have space for curing, right? Maybe.
Yeah. Well, just winter squash in general then. Anybody have favorites? Will, I know you grew, oh, maybe you were just about to say something. The tetsukabuto, how is that? I've never had it, so.
They're awesome.
So
they taste
good.
delicious.
They're workhorses.
They are fucking huge though. So
really?
They can scare people sometimes.
How many pounds?
I mean, they're like, what, like 6 pounds?
I feel like the average was like 4 to 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
They just scare people at the farmer's market. I'll put it in the chat for you, MC.
They're also hard to peel, which you don't need to peel them. The skin is edible, but I think you have to tell customers, like, you don't have to peel it because I worry about somebody also when they try and cut it because it's so big. I'm just so worried somebody's gonna like cut off a finger.
I grew that and I cured it for like 3 months and it had zero flavor in it. And they were these massive plants, the like elephant ear size leaves, huge and beautiful fruit. And I cured it and I had one and I'm like, man, this doesn't taste like anything. It should be okay. But I cured it right. Maybe I just got a set of duds. I don't know. Because I talked to other people and they love it. So it's out of my pay grade, maybe.
Yeah, we've had really tasty ones, luckily, but.
Was that this year?
No, 3 years ago. Okay. I grow a butternut, like a variegated butternut called Autumn Choice, but they don't carry it anymore. It's actually, they have it in England, so I have to find a way to get the seeds. That's great. But I mean, winter squash is, everyone will find their variety they love.
If you want to grow like the what are the expensive little butternuts that everyone loves? The why
There's like
can't I think of it?
brulee and honey nut or something.
Yeah, brulee is a lot cheaper than honey nut and worked really well.
Way cheaper.
And
Brulee
same
is
with autumn frost instead of the
Yep.
what are they called? Yeah,
Oh, the kogi nut.
kogi nut. Yeah, just don't buy the row 7 shit. Buy it from
No, it's the same breeder. It's literally the same squash, the same breeder. I can't go on this rampage because I went on it recently. Like the whole 7-row seed thing. It's just ouch. It's like slap Dan Barber's name on it and triple the price. Get brulee from High Mowing. It's fantastic.
Okay, anyone else with winter squash stories or comments?
I do
All
think
right.
sunshine is a really great kabocha.
Mhm. Okay, zucchini.
I'm rising from the dead. Brulee isn't kogi nut though.
No.
Okay.
Brulee's
I thought you were saying
a-
I thought you were saying brulee was a butternut.
No, brulee. It is a butternut. Brulee is.
No, I thought you were saying brulee was a kogi nut. Is there an alternative to getting the kogi nut from row 7?
Yeah, autumn frost.
Autumn
from
frost.
High Mowing.
Autumn frost is a straight, because autumn frost showed up on the West Coast 2 years ago. That's a straight moschata, where I'm pretty sure kogi nut is a cross. Moschata maxima cross.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a little different texture and a little different. I know the chefs I work with like go bananas for kogi nut, but I gave them autumn frost this year and they liked autumn frost. So hopefully, because I don't grow anything but moschata because of vine borer. It just makes everything so much easier to not have to worry about them. But yeah, I thought autumn frost was awesome.
All right, thanks.
Okay, so zucchini and yeah, better powdery mildew resistant green zucchini.
What variety was the person who asked that question growing? If they're here.
Yeah, I am here. I've done Raven and Dunja, and like a bunch of other ones in the past, but those are the two most recent that like seemed worth going ahead with. But
Noche I've grown is pretty good. Dunja I've grown. I like Dunja, except I hand harvest. I don't cut harvest all the time, and I, for some reason, break Dunjas left and right the way they're shaped. I'm just an ogre in the field at times, though. But I think Dunja's sturdy, and I mean it's great. Raven is an industry standard. I mean, that's a long time, big producer. I'm trying to think. Cash Machine, Spineless Perfection are pretty good too. Spineless Perfection is pretty resilient. But
Like
with the
Green
Spineless
Machine as well.
Yeah, Green Machine. This year I'm gonna hopefully not grow a lot of zucchini, but I'm gonna grow it very early. And Cash Machine is the one they say you should grow for like a very first, because it's super fast. And it's cold. It's like a cooler weather resilient plant. I don't know. It could be just marketing, and I could be setting myself up for disaster. But I'm going to try that.
I've done them in the high tunnel, and
what variety?
Both Dunja and Raven, and the Dunja was like crap this year. And the Raven got tons of powdery mildew or some kind of mildew early, which was very distressing, but it just grew through it and still produced really well. So
maybe I'll do Raven.
Yeah.
What's wrong with the Dunja?
They just produced really poorly. Like maybe I don't have the weights or anything, but
have you tried Desert? which is basically the sister sibling to Dunja, except I think it's a little more water drought resistant and the fruit are a little straighter.
Okay.
I grew desert this year and it was pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, with the Dunja, like yields were maybe a third of what it was for Raven in the high tunnel early.
Raven is just it's just a machine. I remember my grandfather, I think, grew that, or one of the varieties similar to that. Was it Raven? I can't remember.
Okay, so since we're getting close to time, last topic, foolproof melon, or as close as possible.
Find someone who's really good at growing melon. I recommend Diga and tea.
Don't you grow some, Susan?
What kind of, are we talking like cantaloupe or watermelon?
Yeah, like cantaloupe melons, not watermelon.
So I've always grown Halona and it's been killer. It wasn't available this past year. Halona is a great early variety, cantaloupe, and it was from Johnny's. I don't know about this year's availability. I grew True Love instead from High Mowing this year, another like shorter, earlier. And we got a lot of melon. We also had this crazy disease that I've never seen before, which impacted yield, but and it rotted prematurely, but it was good quality still from what we got.
All right, let's move on to the next topic.
Halona, Fedco says they'll have it starting in after late January, and I don't know about Johnny's.
Okay, celery, varieties and advice on cultivation.
Tango, we did some in the spring, just a little bit, but Tango worked.
Yeah, I grow Tango too, and they're amazing for us. They have a really long harvest window too, so you can just leave it on the ground until you have to harvest them. They'll just get bigger and bigger.
Susan, did you grow them in the tunnel or in the field?
Susan, what are you asking about?
The celery.
Are you asking me?
Susan.
I don't think Susan spoke. Caitlin just spoke.
Oh, I thought, Susan, did you? I remember you. Did you grow celery in the field before, or am I getting you mixed up with someone? Last year.
Yeah, I grew celery last year for the first time. It was great.
Yeah, I took notes from you. Okay, I thought that was. I wasn't looking. I was writing because I remember taking notes from you last year about growing. I didn't grow it, but
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'll talk to you after.
I think celery is really, I think soil fertility and quality have a huge impact in celery production. This year I was on different land and my celery was horrible. And fertility is really challenging and pH is low. So I think when you have the necessary nutrient levels for it, it can be, and water, it can be amazing. I was always scared to grow it, but it's really much easier than I think many.
Yeah, it's a super heavy feeder. So I think it's what potassium, they eat a shit ton of potassium. So maybe you were low on that.
We grow Marengo and it does well for us.
What type?
Which one?
Marengo, the other one in High Mowing.
When do you guys harvest them? When do you target your first harvest?
July sometime, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say, oh yeah, I think we waited till August, but I'll double check.
Is it profitable? A market? I mean, do
Yeah.
people go for it?
Well, we do like 2-row 6-inch spacing, and each one can grow to be pretty big. So it could be just one bunch, as one plant. So yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, so rainbow carrot mixes. Best red and purple carrots.
I really like Malbec for a red carrot. It's a little faster than some of the, but I've only checked like High Mowing, Johnny's, and Fedco, and none of them have it this year. So
I think they replaced it with something in Johnny's.
Red Sun, but I didn't like it as much. It was the Malbec, you know, I could just pull. Like I didn't have to loosen the soil. I didn't have to do anything. The tops were strong enough. And like they were a little more blunt tipped, whereas the Red Sun was like a longer taper, harder. Like I had to loosen the soil, and they were slower.
Ruby Pack is the replaced Red. I thought Red Sun was awful. It bolted a lot. It didn't taste great. But this new Ruby, I think they're still looking for a real good one because maybe they can't get Malbec back at all.
We tried Purple
How'd you
Sun
like
and
the
it was
flavor?
terrible.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Was it Elliot?
Yeah. How'd you like the flavor on Malbec? I grew that a couple years ago and it like burned my throat. So I was like, oh, this is like the worst tasting carrot I've ever had. But maybe it's just me.
I find a lot of those different colored carrots, they don't taste as good.
Yeah, I only grow them in the fall. I kind of wait to pull them for as long as possible so they sweeten up. And I tell people it's like apples and they have different culinary uses. I don't eat the red ones raw, but I do like them in cooking. So
Well, I like explaining it that way. That's pretty great. And then cooking them would have been smart. I guess they're just not meant to eat raw.
We've had some market customer like I guess mostly folks who were from India, and they were super excited to see the red carrots because like they grew up eating those, and like had all these special dishes that they use the red carrots for. So it's kind of fun to hear about.
All right. Anybody have anything to say about colored carrots? All right, let's move on. We have a few more topics to go through. Onions. So this is mine. Red onions. So my onions did pretty well this year, but the red ones were terrible for some reason, Cabernets. So looking for another one. I know last year somebody mentioned the what was it? The Rosso
de Milano.
Yeah, that one.
It's not. I don't think it's like a 100% red. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Red Wing is back in stock. I don't think it was around last year, but Red Wing is like the industry standard, and it lasts.
It's like slightly. I like a earlier red variety.
There is an earlier one. I think it's Red Carpet. Is that the earlier one?
Like 3 days earlier.
All the reds are going to take you a while.
Yeah, that's what I liked about the Cabernets. But Rosso de Milano is the same as Cabernet, so.
I mean, if you're gonna, I would go with that.
Okay. Okay. And then non-standard onion varieties. Rachel had this question.
Yeah, this was me. We grew gold coin and it was fine, but like did a lot of this weird thing where the butts would like explode. And I was just wondering if anybody had.
That happens with the cheapo. The cheapos will do that.
Okay, just in general.
I grow Sapolo de Rovato from Osborne. I changed from gold coin to that.
Okay.
And
was it better?
I had less exploding butts.
Okay. Cool.
It's that's just kind of, they're not like a super long keeper. I kind of
we sold them.
blow those out as much as possible.
Yeah. Have you ever grown a red Tripolini?
I find the reds don't flatten out really. I grew red marble for a while, and they ended up like just looking. Half of them looked like little red onions. They didn't coin out.
That's how it kind of looked in the picture, though.
I don't know. I mean, there's only so many hills I'm prepared to die on.
Yeah, no, I don't need one. Curious in case there was a good one.
I'm assuming everybody who does Tropea switched over to Florence, or did you guys stay with Tropea? Because I guess the latest run of seed on Tropea starting a couple years ago, they were not torpedoing; they were getting really chunky. and broad, which is why I switched over to longiflorence last year, and they were what they looked like, what they should look like after a couple years of the tropeas just doing their own thing. And they have them all over the place now, the longiflorence. I think Julie told me about that, to be honest with you, a problem they were having with them a year or two ago.
All
Well,
right,
looks
in the
like
interest of
tropeas are back in any case, so.
Yeah, the Florences were perfect. The longiflorence, I'm going to stick with that. I don't need the tropeas. They were just, the chefs I worked with just were not thrilled because they were just too big. That could just be just a me thing.
Can I ask really quickly, does anyone grow leeks, and how important do you find hilling to your leek?
Not at all. We do just in plastic, I guess if you're not in plastic, then hilling I would do it because that's a benefit you have by not being in plastic. You could really hill them. But in plastic, just about a 6 or 7 inch hole and drop the seedling in there and then let them fill. Problem with leeks is the friggin' allium leaf miner.
Yeah, we only grow King Richard now. I can't grow late season leeks, but they're incredible. They can get, and we mostly just add leaf mulch to ours instead of hilling them. And so they get to be like ginormous. But yeah, I don't have leeks in last year. We started implementing that last year, actually. So there's actually a workshop on Wednesday I'm going to go to about the allium leaf miner, but
I did one last year. The guys did a really detailed study and they came up with a game plan. It takes some work and involves covering. I have the ability to cover stuff, but if you don't have the ability to cover your leaks, it's
I saw those for the first time this year. They're really
they
gross.
smoked my crop 2 years ago. I had 90% loss on my crop, and that was hundreds of pounds of leeks I had to throw away. And last year I had a seedling failure because I think intentionally ignored them because I didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah, I've had a lot of success with King Richard as an early leek. I don't know if anyone else has. And that kind of takes the whole allium leaf miner issue out of it for us.
Yes, we use King Richard too, and we didn't have any issues this year, really. We start pulling them pretty early though.
Yeah, I guess it's September is the witching hour for the allium leaf miners. Although I found some of my garlic this year, but that doesn't really mean anything because they don't go into the close.
All right, let's get through beets and spinach real quick, unless does someone else have something to
I was
say?
just going to say, with the hilling, if you can make a trench, then you can make a trench, transplant into the trench, then you can fill that in, and this sort of has the same effect as hilling without having to do all the hilling. Or
Well,
if
and
you
then some
keep
people make
hilling,
like holes, right?
yeah, like you make a trench, then make a hole in the trench, then fill in the trench, then hill that, and then you get a really tall leek then.
All right, so beets.
Yuck.
What?
No, I'm kidding. They're just frustrating sometimes.
So I don't know if anyone else has like a super awesome variety, but I have been loving the 3-root Grex. It's a family of beets. I don't have to worry about them all being uniform size or uniform shape or color. And the hurricane brought in all kinds of diseases, and the only ones that survived as far as like the chard and the beets was the 3-root Grex. And they have the most beautiful tops, and yeah, I just really love them.
Even late?
Yeah, I still have some out in my high tunnel right now.
No Cercospora?
Pardon?
No Cercospora, a leaf spot?
No, so I've noticed that because there's a larger percentage of the orange and the yellow, that I just scoop right out of that, and I haven't had any of those spots.
Wow.
Awesome.
I grow the birds, kestrel and eagle, and they're pretty Cercospora resistant. They're really Cercospora. And avalanche, if you can sell a white beet, avalanche doesn't even get Cercospora, but it's also a white beet, which is off-putting to a lot of people.
All right, spinach.
I don't know what happened to the gazelle. Does anybody know what happened to gazelle? Because it's not there anymore, and it made me sad. I think they're replaced with auroch, which is a cool name, but gazelle was I guess they're replaced with auroch. They had to. They're both hoofed animals, I guess.
Do a lot of people grow like Savoy spinach? Or mostly smooth leaved?
I just grow stuff that stands up. I need upright stuff because I pick it leaf by leaf when it gets big. So when it grows broad against the ground, it's a real pain.
Okay, all right, let's move on. And before I forget, I don't know how I missed Radicchio in here. So let's start with that first. I know you have a lot to say, Ian, but I tried growing them for the first time this year and they grew pretty well. But yeah, do people have favorites? As well.
We just grow Leonardo. We've tried like a bunch of other ones and they just never seem to work quite as well. So
is that good for you, Leonardo? Does it had
yeah,
good. Yeah, Leo's good.
It tends to head up like much better once the frost comes and it gets cold. So like there's this game we play where it's like we want to pick them earlier, but like if we can manage to wait, then they like head up really nicely after the cold.
I grew 10 different varieties this year, so if anyone has any questions, I can give you guidance on it.
Yeah, maybe just contact Ian. So I have a question though.
Leonardo
has anyone grown? What's that?
Leonardo is for a Chioggia is great.
What about Fiero? Is that a good one to grow?
That's a Treviso. I've never grown Fiero. I've grown a whole bunch of other Trevisos, but it's been around for long enough to make me believe that it's probably pretty good. That's one that's going to probably be picked in October. But I grew 3 different types of Trevisos this year. And
what's your favorite?
So far, spring. I get them from Osborne. Has a massive chicory thing, and I pick Tim's brain up at Kitchen Garden Farm a lot because he's the uber chicory grower around here. Spring is a good one.
If you want to learn everything about growing chicories in general, the Culinary Breeding Network does this like Eat Winter Vegetables series, and there was a whole week of growers talking about growing radicchio. So anything you want to know, I think it lives on the Culinary Breeding Network website. But yeah, Treviso is one of the harder varieties, right, to like kind of get to do what you want compared to like a Chioggia and
no, Tardivo is I think the hardest.
Tardivo is okay.
Tardivo is the one you got to pull out and force and do a dance, and yeah, it's not like Belgian, which is even more difficult. Rachel, I know you guys do that, or Aaron does, doesn't he? You guys do Belgian?
Oh my God.
Yeah, and actually like it went pretty well last year and it was really delicious, and the people at the farmers market just like didn't want to buy it, which was
I would have just cursed them.
Yeah, no, it was really annoying. I was like, you guys don't understand. There's no other vegetables right now. This is super delicious.
No one else in the state, to my knowledge, that does that.
Yeah, so we're doing it again because, you know, why not? So we'll see how it goes this time.
Wow.
The variety we usually grow, though, Johnny's is getting rid of, and so we're doing like a test of like 3 other varieties.
All right, beans.
Just real quick, the sugarloaf variety from Johnny's, the Virtus, is kick-ass. It tastes amazing. It's also a good primer for people on chicory because it's not quite as bitter as some of the other varieties.
Yeah.
So,
and tell your customers to soak their chicories in ice water for like an hour before putting it into a salad, and it takes away a lot of the bitterness, and they love it.
Will, check out the Osborne selection.
Will do.
That's a pretty. They have a real nice setup on it. Very detailed.
Awesome. So glad I remembered. Okay, so yeah, let's move on to beans. I don't know who wrote this, but if they were.
Yeah, we just had some god-awful bush beans even though we were growing some of the kind of like tried and true varieties. And I came across a conversation on Instagram where people are like, gardeners grow bush beans, farmers take the time to do pole beans. And so I just wanted to like raise it and see what people have to say, because I was like so stoked to not trellis beans, but now I'm wondering if that
My
was
personal opinion is like, don't do it. Because we did it last year. We're like, let's do this. We're gonna trellis it. We don't have to crawl anymore. And it was terrible. And then all that time setting up and all that time taking it all down and removing it off your trellis, and it's just, yeah, it just wasn't worth it for us at all.
I think when they do that benefit cost analysis on crops, like what's the least profitable crop, isn't beans always at the top of the list?
You know what? Beans were
Labor-
pretty
the labor-
profitable from my calculations this year.
They were? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because most of the stuff you buy is mechanized, and I gave it up. I had to. It was just too much for me.
I don't know, Ian.
Yeah, that's like the
Yeah,
picking alone doesn't, it just, everything about it seems like a lose-lose for me, but maybe we can pick Yoko's brain some more.
Well, so what I did was, okay, because we used to do 2 rows in a bed, and they always, flip flop over, and then they plug up the pathways. And so we moved to a 1 row per bed system, and it's just amazing. And yeah, it's so productive, over a long period. And
You don't get Mexican bean beetle, right?
we did start getting them towards the end this past year, but only in a little section.
I got them really bad. I had to get the wasp, but yeah, that actually is what I think soured me out at the end. Just let it go.
Yeah, we can't really grow bush beans past August, and I protect net all my beans from all my bush beans. And I got the parasitic wasp the first year, but it was very expensive to bring those in. And so I'm just growing them earlier and earlier. We just have like 3 successions now as opposed to 5 or 6.
I left my first succession until the very end, until November, and wanted to collect seeds. So that was one of the reasons. But yeah, it had very little damage, and they're so slow too. So for me, it's easy to kill them.
I'd like to second the saving seeds for bush beans. A lot of my problems started going away once I would leave the first succession as long as possible and kept pulling out any plants that were tasted bad or unproductive or were susceptible to the different beetles and stuff. And after, I think I'm on year 3 or year 4, I can get the same variety that I started with to just keep pumping from one succession all the way through until when you stop them. And I think that has a lot to do with adjusting the bean to your microclimate and the way you farm and stuff. But I don't know if anyone else has had that kind of result.
That's awesome.
Wow.
I just started saving beans, but I've been saving soybeans, and they definitely, your own seeds perform way better. So. All right, let's move on to herbs. What does well in our area?
You guys know that the Rutgers DM resistant wasn't DM resistant, right?
That makes me feel so much better.
Notice how I pulled out of Johnny's. Prospera is great.
Yeah, we grew both of them, and it
I did
was
too.
dramatic.
I mean, like night and day. Can you imagine people that just bought in on Rutgers and didn't do Prospera?
I thought last year the Rutgers did fine.
No, Rutgers. Maybe there was 2.
We just didn't have a lot of pressure.
I had it in the tunnel, and I had Prospera next to Rutgers, and Rutgers, I think I took some side-by-sides. Rutgers,
it was crazy.
I have a New England slur. I'm sorry, MC.
So are they getting rid of it, or did they make it better, or what's the deal?
I don't know. I still see some places selling it, which is sketchy to me.
Yeah.
But you notice Prospera was just Prospera, but now there's 3 different Prosperas in Johnny's.
We grew the large leaf and the regular one, and they both seemed to be fine.
Was the large? Okay, they were both there last year. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Prospera is great.
Yeah, agreed.
Until, until the downy mutates, and it's not great. ride that
Yeah,
train.
that was for basil if anyone wasn't, you know, didn't know what was going on. So any other herbs? What do people grow for dill, actually? I've been growing Talia, but
Green sleeves, bouquet, Hera. I've grown. Dills, I have a hard time differentiating them. Some are just like for quick cutting, like you see them thick, like arugula, and you'd cut them at 6 inches, like green sleeves, I think is for that. But it really depends how you need it.
okay.
What was the other variety? You said green sleeves.
I'll put them both in. The green sleeves, Hera, like the goddess, and bouquet. Bouquet is kind of bouquet is probably the best, to be honest with you, especially if you want the flower, the seed heads for pickling. There's a new one that came out. I saw in a couple of the catalogs, which I might try, but dill's like pretty far behind parsley, cilantro, and basil in terms of my priority. So.
Yeah, sorry guys. I know it's like 4:54. My management hasn't been great today. I think the intro threw me off a little bit. So yeah, we'll try to do these a little bit more quicker. I'll just show you what we have left. So we have these and then flowers, which not a lot of people actually submitted, flower varieties. And then this is the last page with just general stuff. So, you know, if people need to go, like, feel free. But I'm happy to stay on till we answer some of these questions. So
I think some of the flowers, like Farmer Circle, do like a seed conversation. So there might be notes from that we could, I don't know.
I mean, is Elise here? Because she's really could probably answer all these questions about flower.
Sorry, Elise.
There she is, the flower queen of Connecticut.
So I told Elise to come on, like, what was it, 4:30 or something? I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay, well, we're gonna do just a couple more, and then we're gonna get to get to the flowers. So let's quickly do sweet corn, okra, and field ashwagandha. I don't grow sweet corn, so anybody grow them? Elliot, what does Fort Hill grow? When you were there?
What topic are we on?
Oh, sweet corn. What variety does Fort Hill usually grow?
It's a it's a sort of a sequence of varieties. We really like Trinity and Providence and oh man, what's the other one? Ambrosia. So we get a lot of good luck out of those.
Awesome. Great. Thank you for that. Okay, next one, okra in the tunnel. So this is Rachel, right? Is there specifically a reason for tunnel?
Yeah, me. I tried it this year and I don't think it went very well. And I was just curious if anyone else had tried it.
I doubt that. Has anyone tried it?
I just figured if it was warmer for longer, like I feel like usually like my okra gets to the point of being like super productive and then like it gets cold. And so I was like, what if I can like get to that moment sooner and make it last longer?
Huh, when did it? Ours do pretty well until the end.
Yeah.
It's not really even the cold. It's more of their like, you know, plant like physiology or whatever that comes to an end or not. Yeah. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, my field okra actually did really well this year. So for many reasons, I'm gonna for this okra in the tunnel. Also, the okra in the tunnel got like so tall that I had to like bend each plant down over it was terrible. We should not talk about it anymore.
Okay. Okay. So field ashwagandha, which I have absolutely no experience growing. Does anyone have experience?
I think that was Sarah Rose.
Yeah, I think so. Did she leave?
Yeah.
She might have. Okay.
Yeah, I can read her comment aloud if anyone.
Yeah, sure.
She said, My comment on ashwagandha growing was I was surprised by how late I was able to keep them in the group because they are a tropical plant. I succession harvested them to see how long they were good, and they were still alive and fine through October in the field.
I think they grow like just fine around here. I know in Maine they do ashwagandha for teas and stuff. Cool. All right, let's move on. Flowers. Take it away, Elise.
Yeah, does anyone have any flowers they want to talk about? Or varieties they want to ask about?
Yeah, at least someone did write the last bullet point, specifically cool early season or overwintered and high tunnel.
Okay. So for early season, we do bachelor's buttons. We do scabiosa. That does really well in cooler weather. Bells of Ireland. Godacia or Clarkia is a really good one that will really only thrive if you plant it early. Trying to think what else. Charlotte, chime in if I'm missing anything.
Actually, I was gonna say my Clarkia totally sucked, and it was the first time I did it. But maybe you're mentioning it was, or maybe I did it too late. It like seemed like it burned out.
Yeah, I think my planting goes in like very early April, and one year I was late and the plants were like half as tall. So I think it just is really sensitive to heat, warmer temperatures. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna try, I don't have anything to say about this because I'm trying it for the first time, but the ranunculus and anemone thing in the greenhouse is
nice.
My mom loves that.
That's a very early thing. So you plant them in January, February.
Yeah.
I don't. She marches in and starts taking over my tunnels.
Yeah, it makes you like $10,000, right?
Doesn't make me anything. I don't see a dime of that.
That's on your relationship with your mom, but they're very viable.
She wasn't told.
They're very high price point if you want to pull them off. And they're great in the high tunnel. I hear. I don't have experience, but I've been around a lot of people with experience. I'm sure you do, right? At 4-root?
With anemones and ranunculus. Yeah, so we usually plant ours in January. I haven't had many great experiences fall planting. They go in high tunnels, and people, yeah, they do really well. And there's like been no ceiling to what we can sell at markets. At the Flower Collective, they're really popular. Yeah. So in terms of like overwintered in a high tunnel, Buplarum like the overwintered scabiosa is definitely like the most profitable of our successions. Ami, Larkspur, Delphinium, Bells of Ireland. Yeah, all of those can get direct sown or transplanted in the if you're doing it like directly in a covered tunnel. Usually it's in like September or October. I'd put in the transplant.
Elise, is that a heated or a cold tunnel?
Not a heated tunnel, no. Snapdragons are another one. So if you're putting in plugs, doing it in like October is probably better. I've had some trouble with putting them in too early and them getting like too vegetative too soon. And then if you're direct seeding, I think you can do anytime in like September, October.
What about Dianthus?
Yep, I haven't done it. I do overwinter that in the field, and I haven't had like, I've always been sort of underwhelmed with Dianthus, but I do want to try planting it in a tunnel really, really early this spring to see what happens. Have you grown it?
I'm doing the a trial based on Johnny's, and the Dianthus transplants were the healthiest looking out of everybody. They were probably the only ones that I actually timed right with the daylight shifting. And so I'm like hoping that they actually like pull through the whole winter and don't have rodent damage, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Sorry, is that inside or outside? I might have missed it.
I was doing it. I have most of them overwintering as transplants in the high tunnel. It's unheated, but it's a double layer.
Is anybody, speaking of Dianthus, this is Robert, and I'm the only one in the office now, so I can actually talk. Has anybody tested the, the biennial Dianthus versus the ones that are supposed to be first year flowering?
I think I've done both of them, and I always plant them in the fall. So yeah, they all seem to do well. And I haven't done any spring planting, so yeah, I can't really speak to that. Any other burning flower questions out there?
Oh, go ahead.
No, you would go first, Charlotte.
I just, because I'm doing it for the first time, any advice on the ranunculus and anemone thing? I was planning to, I don't know. Do you always definitely pre-sprout?
I really like pre-sprouting into 50 cell trays. So I'll soak the corms and then put them directly in soil in the 50s. And then they go in the basement, which is like probably 55, 60. And I like just stack the trays all on top of one another just to save space. And after I check them like in 3 or 4 days, and when I start to see them shooting out the top, then I move them to the greenhouse. And I think they take, they're actually pretty fast. So I think they're in the greenhouse for like 3 weeks, and then maybe 4, and then they can go out into the tunnels. I would recommend, if you're doing your anemones and ranunculus planting on the same day, I would recommend starting the anemones, pre-soaking and starting them like a week or 2 sooner, because they seem to just, they seem to be slower.
Okay, so they're sitting in their trays in the greenhouse sprouting, and then they're going into the tunnels in the ground.
Yeah.
After that, after 3 to 4 weeks. Okay. And I was hoping to time it. I don't want to create a whole new flower CSA outlet. I would just love to sell them to the collective format kind of thing, because it exists already. And so I was thinking, like, if I'm aiming for May, that I may be doing it in February would be better timing, but I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that should be fine. And probably doing it in the first week or 2 of February.
Like starting the soaking, like starting the whole thing then.
Oh, starting, let's see, I would probably start maybe the last week in January, or even the 3rd week in January. I'll also go back and like look at my notes, and I'll like shoot you in a text or something.
Yeah, maybe I'll just call you and have a private
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, can we move on to the last page then? Okay, cool. All right, so let's go through these questions. Oh, I think Charlotte, this is your question. Early direct seeded greens. We always seem to have germination issues in the spring weather. I think I found the same thing. Every spring, it's just kind of, you don't get the perfect germination. Do other people have the same issue?
Charlotte, inside or outside?
Outside.
Outside.
It's spring. Spring's brutal.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I don't know if there's an answer to this question.
I mean,
Does anyone get perfect germination in the spring? Like first few successions of like radishes, turnips, and carrots and stuff like that.
probably I don't know, the things that you are banned seeding, like arugula. That way, if you see a bad germination, you can quickly hop in and stuff some more seeds in the ground. Same shit happens to me.
Okay, well, at least we're all on the same boat, Charlotte. You're not alone. Okay, so when do people start seeding and what signs in the weather do they possibly look for? I start seeding first or second week of March. I feel like I'm delaying everything every year since there's always something that happens in April. But yeah, it depends on what you're growing and when your markets start and stuff like that. But I think Allie asked this question, right, Allie?
Yeah, I did.
Did you have anything like specifically?
No, I'm literally, this is my first year, so I'm kind of just trying to range like what everybody's doing, I guess.
Right. I think if you start like at least second week of March, you're not missing out too much.
We start seeding in our greenhouse in February, but it's mostly like alliums and flowers.
Yeah,
really
we pushed back our onions too, so.
You don't want to seed stuff too soon that doesn't want to be out in the cold.
Yeah, you find that a lot of times, Allie, you plant them and they don't grow for the first 3 weeks. So it's the same as planting them 2 weeks later. So, don't feel too like worried if you don't get it in. If you seed it a week or two from that time, it's probably still going to be okay, so. Okay, what's being planted in the early spring and early spring hoop house and or greenhouse? I grow for next spring, I have planned a bunch of stuff because I want to make sure I have a bunch of vegetables for the first farm stand. So I have radishes, turnips, carrots, beets, spinach. Yeah. In the tunnels. Intercropped, and then also our plant tomatoes in between, stuff like that.
Speaking of carrots, did everyone see the carrots that Yoko grew this fall?
Oh.
Literally, probably the prettiest vegetable I've ever seen of any type.
Yeah, that was kind of insane.
How the hell did you get this on the ground intact? Did you have an excavator?
Sorry, excavator? Oh, no. Well, we do have to, by we, I mean Alex, because he digs all of them out. But we do need to use a broad fork, and it's like, it almost, just financially, it almost doesn't make sense. It takes so long to dig out, and then you have to sort them because it's it's an heirloom. Okay. So the size are
okay. You got bragging rights now. Those are bragging rights, carrots.
Yeah, they're amazing though. We couldn't grow enough of them. We just love them. So, but it's just a matter of there's that limitation of time because it just takes so long to harvest and process them. But yeah, they're freaking amazing.
Yeah, on the spring hoop house question, depends on, I think, what you have following that stuff. Like if it's really important to you to have, greenhouse tomatoes, early tomatoes, then either something that you can harvest all of and make your money quickly, or I think like Yoko said, and something we've done before is just transplant tomatoes right in the middle of an arugula bed and then, cut it until it bolts or gets destroyed or whatever and, rip it out. But yeah, kind of depends on
Depends what people want to. I'm just doing spinach, basically spinach and arugula because that's what I need to grow. So some people want to grow a corn. They have Yoko has a market stand, so she wants a cornucopia of stuff. I don't. I have I have chefs who in places that want specific things in bulk, so I would grow differently.
We did a lot. No, this is like my question. So I just have a really tiny hoop house. And I guess I was planning on doing spinach in the hoop house. And then planning on doing something else after I harvest the spinach. So I guess that like we went over spinach varieties already. So unless there's something that like goes crazy in a hoop
Well, you
house.
can
I
harvest
really-
spinach. You can pick an individual leaves and harvest it over a long window, or you can just cut the whole plant. The
Mhm.
best time to grow spinach, and I think everyone will back me up, is when you plant it in the fall and you grow it over
Yeah.
winter, then it turns into straight candy. I mean,
Yeah, no,
winter
I know.
spinach, winter spinach is it's crazy. People it just blows people's minds. It's a little trickier, into the the lengthening days. It's a little finicky with the heat, but yeah, anything that's fast. Look at your days to harvest. Certain radishes, arugula, mustard greens, stuff like that. Quick stuff.
Mhm.
All right, what are people's go-to farmers market and CSA pleaser crops? This is the last of 3 questions from Allie. Pleaser crops.
Tomatoes.
We found that when we moved to a CSA model because of COVID, that like growing husk cherries was stupid, but at the farm stand, growing things like, cucamelons or sour gherkins or husk cherries are really worth it. And it's like really like people will pay a lot for those like cute little niche crops. If you have the space and time for that.
That's true. We had to excommunicate them because they're so difficult. They're great, but I mean, I didn't even bother running the numbers on it because I didn't want to see what the numbers were. I just grew them.
Yeah, I feel like the farmers market and farm stand, what people want is like pretty different. Like we can sell unlimited beets at the farm stand. Sometimes, yeah, we sell sometimes more than at the farmers market, which is insane because we go to a pretty big market. Like celery is huge at the farm stand, but not so much at the market. Yeah, it's interesting seeing like differences.
Just because they want you to grow it doesn't mean you should want to grow it. That's people will tell you 101 things they want, but that has to work for you and your model.
And with the CSA, I think the best thing to shoot for is variety of crop families consistently throughout the whole year. Like we try and shoot for at least one allium in every CSA pickup, maybe a couple types of greens and then a couple of, like fruiting things per pickup. It doesn't always work out that way, but if you plan with that in mind, that tends to be more how people are trying to cook and eat.
100%.
Kirsten had this question. Are there any like unusual, uncommon varieties or just vegetables in general that are working for farmers? Kirsten has tried like the cardoons and the what was it? The artichokes and what was the other one? Oh, the scorzonera and stuff like that. And she just
Salsify those.
Yeah.
You got to grow some of those crops. You just have to grow a ton of them to get enough to make it worth it. And it's why would you want to commit that much time and space to a niche crop?
One random one that I tried for fun in 2020, couldn't get the seed this year, was an herb from True Love Seeds called, oh shit, of course I'm blanking on it now. It was a black Peruvian mint wakatai. It's like in the marigold family. And we sold a ton of it at the farmer's market by just marketing it for cocktails. They would pick it up and they'd be like, oh my God, I need to drink this with like tequila.
Well, can you put the name in the chat?
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, that reminds me. Does anyone grow mint?
Not if I can help it.
Okay, because I know that's super popular, but I've been kind of thinking,
thank you.
Could I put it in like big containers or?
I grow mint, and right now we have it sort of contained to a raised bed, and it's just totally overly dense, and because of that, kind of sticky and thin. How do I fix that?
Yeah, get in there with like a mattock and just destroy it. Just like
And don't
try and
compost it.
clean out.
Yes.
Yeah, just burn
Yeah,
it.
we have a section of mint like in a grassy area that we mow. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous mint.
Yeah,
It
we
smells
have we
so
have
good to
native.
walk through those.
Yeah, we have native mint, but it's not. It doesn't regrow that quickly, so I don't know.
It's honestly for us, it's really nice to bulk up our CSA in the spring with mint bunches. Like mint and rhubarb have
Well, how do
been,
you grow
That's
that?
a good CSA hack.
yeah, exactly. I also grow it in a raised bed with like quarter. I mean, it's already gonna be, it's not perfect, but we put 1/4 inch wire underneath our mint bed, and I know it's gonna grow through it, but like, years, and so far so good.
I suppose you can like put a tarp over it if you really need to kill it at some point. That's my like never ending like kind of I don't know question of how to grow chives, because we do sell a ton of garlic chives, and it's currently in our main field. And what I do is I plant 25 feet of brand new chives every spring, and then we also take from the second year, so we have 50 whole feet of chives, and then the second year one will then be tarped and kind of killed the following year. But obviously that tarp has to stay on for quite a long time because those chives are like friggin' tenacious. So I don't know what a better way is. I actually tried to do like a really dense like mulch with like paper on top, paper and then mulch. But then the voles loved it. It kind of like blew off sometimes. I don't know. It's just not.
Is anyone growing rhubarb? Because I get beat up for rhubarb, which is weird. Everybody wants rhubarb, and nobody really grows it anymore.
I have them. Well, I mean, I planted them last year. I mean,
I'm gonna have
at the
like
beginning of
300
the year,
bed feet of it after next year. I'm putting in a ton of it. Watch the
Yeah.
rhubarb bubble burst.
We're growing like 350 bed feet of it, and we harvested enough for like the crew and sampling the first year, and then
I didn't even pick mine the first year. I just let it roll.
yeah, and then let it roll to the second year, and it's been great.
This is our first full asparagus pick on like 800 bed feet. So we're curious to see how much that is. It's going to be game on this year.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we've been waiting.
Wait, what variety do you have? Because I ordered mine to plant
Asparagus?
for next spring. Yeah.
Oh,
I ordered Millennium and Mary Washington.
I think it was Millennium. We planted one of the purple ones, but it was like everything that's purple. It's finicky. I feel like it. Just go with the standard. Millennium's kind of the industry standard at this point.
Okay, cool.
Just the last thing on unusual stuff, I mentioned it a little like in passing, but True Love Seeds is really great. Like if you have a particular like, ethnic population that you serve, or, whatever, people who are looking for a particular crop, they probably have it. We did some of their chilies. We did that herb that I mentioned, and I don't know, and Cantaloupe, which we have a market for at our farmers market. And the seeds have all been great. They're all saved by like farmers generally in the Northeast, so they're pretty well adapted, and they're just a cool company to support. So check them out.
Oh yeah, for unusual things, I just thought of we grow a lot of shungiku, especially in the fall, and we've been growing it every year. But I think I'm gonna drop the spring one just because it bolts in the summer, so you can only really get like a few weeks of harvest in the spring. But in the fall, I mean, they're pretty cold tolerant, so you can harvest it for quite a long time. And it was interesting when we asked one of our farmer friends in Japan what their most profitable crop is. It was shungiku, because it's like the kale in Japan. You just keep, harvesting side shoots and it just grows back out.
You grow that kale?
Yeah, we do that. So we just cut the side shoots. And yeah, I feel like, of course, the first couple of years, it's like we had to tell people what it is, but no one asks now. I feel like everyone knows what it is now, and like they just always sell out. So,
Because I have a couple of chefs request I grow that. Actually, I was going to refer them to you.
oh yeah, I mean, it's
Actually,
you
one
should
are,
grow them. It's easy to grow.
yeah, I thought it was grown more like arugula, but it's grown more individually.
No, there's two types. So there's the type that you do grow like arugula, and then there's the type that branches like.
All right, I'll
So
take
you gotta buy the right thing. So Johnny's, the one that Johnny's has is just the branching one.
Okay.
But yeah, it depends on, preference, like how you wanna eat them. So you're not harvesting kind of like the stem part of it if you're just doing the arugula type.
Awesome.
Did anyone else grow the habanadas this year? The little.
Yep. And roulette and Numex, all three of them.
I'm curious if anybody took the habanadas to market and how they did there, because we just forced them on our CSA members.
You got to taste people on them. And that's always fun. You challenge, some big macho guy, just challenge him right away. Have a couple fully loaded ones on hand, just in case you really want to mess with somebody. I sold them at half pints for $3 a hit. And they went. So, and habanadas you definitely want to wait till they get full color. I grew Numex from Johnny's. I don't care for that. The fruit aren't sturdy. Roulette is really nice. They're all kind of wolfy bushes. They require a little bit of wrangling. But roulette was really nice, and I'm going to actually grow the heirloom dulces this year and see how they are.
All right, last few questions. General tips for fall greenhouse seeding, heat tolerant varieties, successful germination around fall crops or techniques.
Rip those tomatoes out before you think you should.
That's it. And it's hard. There's tears probably involved.
No, it's only tears of joy.
That's right. And like everyone's saying that you can, ripen those tomatoes, sell the green tomatoes, like it doesn't have to hurt so bad.
I leave some of my cherries in, like sun peach, because I harvested sun peach until Thanksgiving 4 years ago. It was real warm. So if you really want to, I did some of it in, but you're right. You just need to rip it all out. Just rip off the Band-Aid. Have somebody else do it if you can.
When do people rip them out? Like what usually?
August, I think, is what you should be shooting for.
End of August?
Yeah, like I think ideally you'd be starting to transplant or direct seed stuff by the end of August. Maybe first week of September is more realistic.
Yeah, I do a lot of transplanting, so I try to keep them in a little
I have 2
longer.
tunnels, so I just alternate. So I leave them in longer because September, October, I sell hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds of tomatoes. Because I have a lot of cherries in there. They're not all heirlooms. I don't have much of a market for heirlooms for some odd reason, because nobody wants to buy. No chefs want to buy firsts. You can't sell firsts, so.
We make a green tomato salsa out of our green tomatoes come September, and the customers really like it.
Is that, you guys do value added? Sorry.
Yeah, we send it out to like a canning facility in.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Like great.
Anybody grow tomatillos in like any substantial amount? And that's another one. I only do like 100 bed feet, but they're always there's something.
That's about what I grow for tomatillos, and we have a huge market for them in Willimantic, so I sell out just about every time.
I sell them pretty well now. How do you feel? I have like 25 of these cattle fencing cages that I inherited, and they're old, but I use those, and I don't cage. I never use cages for that. I never ever. That's not what I do. But I found that it's like the only way to keep them contained is use a cage. How do you guys keep them up in the field?
I gave up caging them and I just let them do their wild and free thing.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So I find
you're welcome for me.
It will it kind of like squashes. When the branches go down, they reroot. And so they're getting more and more nutrients. And if there's something that happened to the stem of the main plant, it can like bypass it just like squash does.
You have a pretty high cull rate because you're on bare earth, because they rot so fast on ground.
I think it's just I'm picking so often that as soon as they drop, I'll see it in the next day or so.
You also probably have tomatillos in that spot for eternity now because
Oh yeah.
I've never seen a seed that is so resilient in tomatillos. I've thrown tomatillos in the woods and I find them growing in literally the woods.
We literally ran one of their volunteer patches over with our excavator, and then they still kept on fruiting after that. They're just insane.
Absolutely insane. Wow, it's crazy.
Has anyone tried pruning tomatillos? We were like, are we kidding ourselves?
I've
Should we try
suckered them.
this next year? Like, you
I've
suckered
suckered them, but
Okay.
it's a diminishing returns. Sometimes in a cage, there'll be the ones that grow out parallel to the ground low and then break. Maybe those. I think I'm gonna just let them run. I am gonna start suckering some of the eggplant and peppers that I want to grow big, like poblanos. I'm gonna start suckering on my poblanos, so I can. And then you need to feed the hell out of them to get them really big, more than you would normally feed stuff. But yeah, I've tried tomatillos. I have the best of intention. Then by like early August, I don't even want to go pick them. I just pretend they're not there.
Oh wait, was I talking? Was I muted when I was talking?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, I was like, why isn't anybody talking?
I thought we were kind of reaching that point. I was like, huh, okay.
I said my thing and I'm like, everyone is just like dead silent. No, I was just saying, if anyone has anything else to say about the last few bullet points, you can say it now. Otherwise, we can wrap it up. No lingering thoughts. All right,
Everyone have
well,
a relaxing holiday. We all deserve it. Everyone.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'm glad 5:30. That seems like a good time to call it quits. And thanks for staying on, guys. And
Thank you, folks.
this was
Thanks,
amazing.
everyone. Happy
Yeah.
seed ordering.
We'll send an email out with the recording notes and stuff like that.
If anybody wants to talk shop about Radicchio, you can reach out to me. I'm constantly worrying about it. So.
Okay. Good night, everyone.
See ya.
Bye, everyone. Thanks so much for coming.
Bye.